What's up, YouTube? It's time for a review of the new T.I. record, Us or Else, Letter to the System, out a few weeks ago now, December 23rd. Pretty crazy to think that this is T.I.'s 10th record, given that I've been listening since his second. I think us 90s kids are starting to feel a little old. But it does give me a really strong perspective when it comes to reviewing T.I.'s music, because I've been there almost every step of the way. So a quick recap of me and my relationship with T.I.'s discography. I liked everything up to Paper Trail. Then Paper Trail had a little too much glitz for my taste, and even more so as I got older. I found myself not coming back to it at all. Maybe I was just sick of the hits. I don't really know. But I know a lot of people like that record, and T.I. could fucking run for president with the money he made off of it. Then came No Mercy, which I remember clear as day having it on CD in my Toyota Highlander at the time, and just being so confused because the first half of that record is all like introspective and sometimes gritty songs, and then whoosh, the second half is just all like pointless club tracks. It was just the weirdest like schizophrenic record. It was like really like two records mushed together. Then with the album Trouble Man, I was more or less indifferent except for a couple of bangers like the song Cruisin' or the song Hello, the latter of which me and my girlfriend at the time had this running joke about because it was just so irritatingly catchy. CeeLo Green's hook, it was like you couldn't go more than 24 or 36 hours without having to fucking sing it out loud to get it out of your head. But then everything just crash landed in 2014 with the album Paperwork, which I just fucking hated. It was one of my least favorite albums of all of 2014. I couldn't stand it. It was this collection of half-assed radio attempts by way of every single high-profile collaboration under the sun. It just felt forced and uninspired and soulless, as if T.I. had just run out of things to say. Now the good news with this new album, Us or Else, which is his first full-length since Paperwork, we'll skip over his last couple EPs, the Nick and the Us or Else EP, is that this time T.I. has a lot to say. Throughout this whole album, he attacks very specific cultural and racial and socio-political issues in a way that's unapologetic, unambiguous, and very emotionally charged. On the opening track, I Believe, over this growling bass line, he addresses the Flint water crisis, he addresses Donald Trump's campaign, he addresses conspiracy theories surrounding the deaths of prominent black figures, Malcolm X, Tupac, and Biggie, which he does admit that the Tupac and Biggie one, he's not very sure of. A lot of interesting theories out there, but I really think it was just street beef. I really don't think it was anything more. What really struck a chord with me was when he started talking about Columbus Day and just what an absurdity it is as a holiday. And personally, that's a very strong belief of mine. I think we really need to do away with Columbus Day as an institution just because of what it represents historically. So I really like the way he framed it. He was like, well, what if we had a Hitler Day? Like, that would sound pretty ridiculous. Then he goes on to say that hypocrisy is more American than democracy. Woof. Biting words out of the gate. Then the next track, Ah No No, deals with the social media generation and how social media has changed not just the spreading of ideas, but it's changed how beef operates itself. And T.I., being a bit older, is very open about some of the struggles of adapting to this new age of social media. Then there's the song Lazy, which is a musical manifestation of that amazing motivational speech that T.I. gave to a bunch of youth about staying in school. I watch that shit once a week. Like, what are you celebrating? That's the famous quote. If you haven't seen that, I'll link that in the description because that's a must-see. Then you've got the tracks like Black Man and Warzone, both of which T.I. has released intense music videos for. These tracks really represent the heart of the album's subject matter. Ultimately, the broader theme of this album is systematic racial oppression in America. You know, Letter to the System is in the title. This is T.I.'s attempt, and this is T.I.'s opportunity to voice his disgust and his disillusionment with what's going on in this country right now, particularly as it pertains to the black community. On Warzone, he references the Alton Sterling killing, the Eric Garner killing. He starts off the second verse with some direct venom for Dylan Roof, the church murderer, who, by the way, just got the death penalty. Thank God. Don't send my tax dollars towards him. Holy fuck. And then he also makes a very familiar but powerful comparison between the prison system and slavery. So songs like Warzone and Black Man, as well as cuts like We Will Not and Letter to the System and 40 Acres, these songs really represent the broader message of Us or Else, though, as I pointed out, T.I. touches on a bunch of different things. So, we've established that he has a lot to say. Unfortunately, for my taste, the music itself is not a very memorable soundtrack to these weighty ideas. Even though I'm very intrigued and interested in what T.I. has to say, there's not very much for me to latch onto in terms of well put together songs with choruses and instrumentals that serve to amplify the emotions behind these intense topics. The music itself, just sonically, kind of leaves me feeling indifferent and uninspired. There's a whole lot of intense political commentary, but not very much in the way of great, memorable songs. Aside from Black Man and Warzone, which are two highlights for me, I really like those tracks, it's ironically the least political songs like Picture Me Mobbin' and Switchin' Lanes that I found myself gravitating to because they are the enjoyable songs. They're the songs with the ear candy instrumentals and the hooks that 4 or 5 listens into this album I actually want to hear again. Then we get to a song like Pain, which is neither politically charged nor sonically good. I think the failure of this song is in T.I.'s delivery. Because the phrase, pain is weakness leaving the body, that's a powerful phrase that warrants an equally powerful delivery, full of cocksure aggression and fiery conviction, not that casual drawling slur that T.I. kind of throws it out at you with. Not to mention, Knots' beat is already a bit much with this busy, peppy bass line, and it's already a repetitive beat. The loop in this beat is like 2 or 3 notes over and over and over again. So then you throw a super repetitive hook on top of that, and it just creates this massive headache. And while we're on the topic of repetitiveness, what also starts to happen towards the back end of the track list is T.I. starts to really repeat himself. Like on 40 Acres, he says, "Fuck the police, they're as crooked as they come." And then on the song I Swear, he says, "They'd rather see me in prison than at Stanford," which at this point are things that he's already driven home over and over again. And they start to feel a bit tiresome. And you know, to be fair, maybe that's the point, is to just drive this album's message home over and over again, just hammer it into the thick skulls of America. But just for me, as a listener, when late in a track list I start to feel deja vu, that's usually an indicator that the album is kind of run out of steam. But ultimately, most of the songs on Us or Else are not bad. They're just forgettable. Musically forgettable. Not necessarily lyrically or idea-wise, but I am listening to music here. I'm not at a congressional hearing. I'm not at a Black Lives Matter rally. I'm looking for great songs beneath what's being said, and unfortunately, they're just not there for me. I gotta say, I was super excited for this impassioned new T.I. album full of socially aware bangers, but it wasn't what I hoped for. I guess what I was hoping for was an intersection of scathing, politically charged rhymes with well-crafted, genuinely enjoyable songs, and that's not what I got. Maybe my expectations were unfairly high, but I was hoping for something like Fear of a Black Planet by Public Enemy or Revolutionary Volume 2 by Immortal Technique. These are 2 albums from different eras, mind you, but 2 albums that have great songs on them, and as a result, the lyrics are that much more poignant and have that much more of an engaged audience because they're placed on this solid musical pedestal, and that's unfortunately what T.I. does not pull off for me here. But I will say that I enjoyed this project more than anything from T.I. since No Mercy, and that mostly was because he just had a lot more to say this time around. And I'm hoping he continues down this path and continues to be this visible activist and prominent voice on social issues, because he does have such a platform, and it's inspiring to see him use it. And hopefully next time, the tunes themselves will catch up with T.I.'s passionate expression of his beliefs that he displays here. Us or Else, Letter to the System gets a 5 out of 10 from me. As always, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, or shoot me a message so we can continue to talk music, and I'll see you guys soon.